It was a cold November evening. The air inside the room felt dry. His lips had begun to chafe. He reached for the lip balm on the edge of the desk and applied a thin layer. Pressed his lips together once. Exhaled. The keyboard in front of him was still warm. He placed his hands on it and typed the credentials he had typed every day. The screen paused. Then a line of text appeared. Error. He waited. The pause didn't concern him. System stalled. Pages refreshed. He adjusted his chair and typed again. The screen changed. User not found. He read it. Twice. The phrasing stayed the same. He glanced at the clock in the corner of the screen. Still early. His calendar remained open. Meetings scheduled for the next day. Another later in the week. Nothing indicated that anything had changed. He refreshed the page, and then again, the same message appeared. Outside, a car passed. Somewhere in the building, a door closed. The world continued to behave as expected. Only the system no longer recognized him. He checked the physical connection, followed the Ethernet cable from the back of the dock to the wall port. The clip clicked when he removed it. The light on the port remained orange, steady. He plugged it back in and restarted the machine. Watched the manufacturer's logo spin against the black background. It took 14 seconds to boot. He counted them. The login screen returned. The cursor blinked in the password field, waiting for input. He typed his credentials, slower this time. Verified the caps lock key. Verified the Wi-Fi signal. Enter. The processing wheel spun. For a moment, it seemed to catch. Then, the text returned to its previous state. User not found. The fan inside the laptop slowed down, then went silent. For a while, he assumed this was temporary. He checked his emails. No message, no warning. He opened the internal dashboard he rarely touched. The page loaded. Blank. He stood up, walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and drank it slowly. When he returned, the screen hadn't changed. He sat down again. Minutes passed without instruction. That was unusual. There was always something waiting. A request, a revision, a notification that pulled the next hour into shape. But nothing arrived. By late morning, he realized no one was going to explain what had happened. The system didn't escalate the issue. It didn't redirect him. It didn't acknowledge the interruption. It behaved as though there was no interruption at all. The day opened in front of him without resistance. He didn't rush. There was no reason to. Time, which had always arrived already divided, now appeared whole. He walked outside. The city moved around him at its usual pace. People went to work. Deliveries arrived. Screens glowed through office windows. He stopped at a crosswalk. A courier on a bicycle waited beside him. The radio on the courier's shoulder chirped. A voice gave a coordinate. The courier acknowledged it, shifted his weight, and pushed off the moment the light changed. He had a destination. The physics of his day were dictated by that requirement. Across the street, a woman held a phone to her ear. She walked fast. She was apologizing for her delay. She checked her watch, adjusted her pace, and signaled a taxi. Every person in the intersection was moving toward the request. Their momentum was external, drawn by a tether he could not see. He stood still on the corner. The light changed again. The crowd refreshed. No tether pulled at him. The friction of the day had vanished. Nothing suggested that anything was missing. He returned home earlier than usual. His alarm was still set for the next morning. He left it on. The following day passed the same way. No message, no correction. The meetings on his calendar remained. They came and went without him. He checked once more. User not found. After a few days, the urgency faded. There was nothing left to follow up on. He noticed the hours more clearly now. How they expanded when nothing pressed against them. How easily one afternoon slipped into another. He tried filling the time. Read things he'd save for later. Walked longer routes. sat without checking the clock. He cleaned the apartment, not out of hygiene, but to generate a result. He wiped the counters until the reflection was unbroken, organized the bookshelf by color, and then by height. The task took 40 minutes. When he finished, the room looked different, but the air felt the same. He sat on the sofa and watched the dust motes drift into the shaft of light from the window. He listened to the building settle. The pipes knocked in the walls. The refrigerator compressor hummed, clicked off, and hummed again. These were sounds he usually missed. Sounds that were usually covered by the noise of productivity. Now they were the loudest things in the room. None of it felt wrong, but none of it seemed to matter. He began to observe the world more closely. Reports were still produced, decisions still made. The work he used to do continued without delay, cleaner even. The absence he expected never appeared. No gap formed where he had been. It became clear that what had disappeared wasn't the work itself, only the expectation that he would be there to perform it. And when that expectation vanished, nothing rushed in to replace it. Weeks passed. People stopped asking what he did. The question no longer fit. Without a role, conversations shortened, introductions ended sooner. He wasn't excluded, he simply wasn't required. One afternoon, he opened the system again. Watched the interface populate on its own. Tasks completed. Outputs generated. The process didn't hesitate. He understood that the system hadn't replaced him. It had removed the need for replacement entirely. Work, he realized, had never been about effort. It had always been about necessity. About being the answer to a demand. Without that demand, the days no longer asked anything of him. And without being asked, he found it harder to respond. That evening, he sat at the same desk. The room felt the same. The keyboard call now. He reached for the lip balm again, applied it. The motion still worked. The alarm was still ringing in the morning. The calendar would still fill itself. But nothing on it required him to appear. For most of his life, something had been waiting for him. A task, a responsibility, a reason to arrive. Now there was only time, and the quiet understanding that the world did not need him to continue. Work had never answered the question of meaning, it had only delayed it. And now, with nothing left to delay it, the question remained.